Hello everybody, how are you tonight? Welcome to my Cambridge Toefl and Ielts certification classes. My name is Rodrigo and I'm officially a Cambridge examiner for the speaking part of the test. And tonight I prepared a distinguished reading class for you. This is going to be very dynamic, full of new vocabulary explanations. I have to warn you though that the chosen article is particularly complex, and that's why I decided to teach you some keywords found in the text in order to help you to properly understand it when you read it afterwards. But before starting, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, leave your like and click on the button below so that you are gonna get all my tips for both vocabulary and grammar next time. And please don't forget to ask your friends to visit my channel and help me to expand it to keep this page totally free of charge. Now, let's get cracking! So, we're going to start with our vocabulary explanation for the reading section. And our first word is going to be dubious source, which basically means doubtful or questionable, alright? So basically you're feeling doubt about your sources. That's what it means. Our word number 2 is exiled. Basically, exiled is somebody who has been expelled or even barred from their native country. So this person has been exiled, alright? The word number 3, embezzlement. Basically, that means fraud or theft, pilferage, and it's often associated with the misappropriation of money. That's what it means. Our word number 4 is seemingly, which is a synonym of apparently, This word is easy to say. You have been told something, you don't know it is true or not, okay? Our 5th word is supply. Basically that means to provide something or to furnish somebody with something they need or something they want, okay? Next word, funds. That basically means money, assets, capital, the possessions you have. Alright? So, our next term is rubbing shoulders, which basically means to meet and talk to somebody in a friendly way, like to mingle, to socialize, alright? Next term, fading. Fading basically means dying out or declining, disappearing, or even dwindling, alright? I believe the easiest synonym is dying out, when it's gradually disappearing, okay? The next word is instated martial or instated martial law, which basically is when that is an imposition of the direct military control by a government. So if an incident happens in the country, the military will take control, okay? That's instated martial law or instated martial, okay? The next noun is plunder, which basically means sucking money from a country, as in corruption or stealing. We also call that pillage, okay? Then we have fled, which is the past of the verb to flee, and that basically means to run away, to escape, maybe from country, maybe escaping from your wife, escaping from the police. So next term is stood trial. Basically is when you're tried on a particular court, like to be judged at a court of law, alright? That's what stood trial means. Next term, on behalf of. That basically means when you're representing somebody or you are in support of somebody, okay? So I came here on behalf of my company. That's a great example, okay? So the company sent me here. So next term, counts of. Basically, we're talking of the calculations of something, the numbers, figures, I can say, for example, counts of corruption, alright? Next term, which is a business term, we call it tax evasion, okay? Which basically means a way of illegally paying less taxes than you should, okay? That's tax evasion. So you don't pay as much tax as expected. Next term, very easy, gowns. That's those formal and very fancy dresses that women wear, like in prom, special parties, special events. Next term, flawless, which basically means perfect, without any mistakes. For example, my piano recital was flawless last night. Alright? Next term, appealing, which basically means very attractive or very interesting, tempting. That's what it means. So, next term, resolute character. It's an adjective that basically means firm or determined, obstinate, when they're very, very persistent. Alright? Next term, withstood, which the past tense of withstand. That's basically to be strong enough. When you're a very resistant person. That's basically what it means. Very resistant, very strong, right? Next word. In British English, we pronounce as rough, but in American English, they pronounce as wrath, okay? And that basically means extreme anger or fury, that hate you have in your heart, and that's a noun, okay? So this extreme fury or anger, okay? Now, a different word, iconicity. So weird, so different, but I love this word. Iconicity, which is basically the lack of arbitrariness or irrationality. So you don't have irrationality at all. That's basically what it means, okay? It's the opposite. Then the next one is trendsetter, which is basically the creator of culture trends. And in other words, I can say it's like a role model for things like fashion, etc. Right? A role model, okay? People follow you after that. And the other term is not unlike. Unlike is already a negative, so not unlike. It's basically not differently from or equal to something, similar to somebody, That's basically what it means, okay? So, let's move. So, we have the word flamboyant, which is an adjective, and that basically means extravagant, dazzling, bombastic, like the looks, you want everybody to look at you, so you look extravagant, dazzling, flamboyant, Next term, to gloss over, that's a phrasal verb that basically means to poo-poo something. So it's like when you fail to recognize something's importance or its faults. For example, they're just glossing over some important facts, such as like Brazilian's president is glossing over the COVID-19. It's a great example. So, next, to portray. Oh, that basically means to illustrate, to describe something, to characterize something. So again, illustrating something, you're portraying it, alright? Next term, glitz. Glitz is glamour, glamour, showiness, glamour, that's basically what it is. Next term, spoof. That's caricature, parody, a trick, caricature, Next term, we have a phrasal verb again, to come across, and that basically means to behave in a way that makes people believe you have a particular characteristic. For example, I can say, Maria came across as a as a very important person, you know. Or John came across as aloof, but he wasn't, you know. He's a very nice person. That's basically what it means. So the next verb is to attain, which basically means to gain, to earn, to obtain something, such as like you attain a new job position in your company, you know? That's a verb. It's simple to use, alright? Next we have a noun, which is greed. Basically means avarice, you know, selfishness, or like that overwhelming desire for more and more and more, and that desire never ends. So you feel greed. And this kind of person is called greedy. It's very negative, you know. Now let's see the next word, which is distasteful. That basically means abhorrent, hateful, obnoxious. You know, it's a very, very nasty adjective, like hateful, repugnant. You know. Next, estimable. So in this case, estimable, this adjective is very positive. That basically means honorable. You know, worthy, esteemed. You know, very honorable. Next one is a phrasal verb. So to airbrush out. If you airbrush something out, you basically remove evidence of something, you know? Let me try and give you an example, like the president can't airbrush out the past. So basically he cannot remove evidence from the past situation of the country, you know? That's a great example. And the other one is atrocities. You know, atrocities is the same as barbarities or outrageous behavior. You know, a very cruel person, very, very cruel person. They commit atrocities. That's basically what it means. So, the next adjective is stricken, which basically means hurt or harmed. For example, you know, an area like a poverty-stricken area, basically this area or this village is being harmed by environmental issues such as snow or flooding, maybe a hurricane, you know, that's what stricken means. It's an adjective. The next one, I love it, it's to be keen to. Sometimes we say keen on or keen to, they're the same thing. And in the art, we're going to be keen to, which basically means to be motivated to do something. You are eager to do something. Okay? It's a great verb to use. Now, next noun we have leap, which basically means improvement or big changes. You know, if I tell you, for instance, that there has been a leap in profits. Basically, what I'm saying is that the company started making much more money than before, so we use that word a lot in business. It's a great word to learn, leap. Now, a discourse marker, very formal, it's notwithstanding, which basically means despite of the fact of, you know, but it's much more formal. I can give an example, like, notwithstanding the high price, I will still buy a new iPhone. So in other words, what I'm saying is, even though the iPhone costs a lot of money, I will buy it anyway. You know, that's notwithstanding. You know. Next, war ravaged. Again, war ravaged, which is basically devastated by war. You know, when a place is demolished, completely destroyed by war, you can say like the village was completely war ravaged, or a country was completely war ravaged. It's demolished, destroyed, okay? Okay, now that we've learned all the words required for reading our article, I'm just gonna ask you to please double check the words and make notes because it's time to read the article, okay? Shall we start? So, an unlikely muse. A new wave of music and arts projects has emerged focusing on someone who may seem for some a dual source of inspiration. Imelda Marcos, former First Lady of the Philippines, is currently becoming the subject of musicals, song cycles, and shows on a worldwide arena. When the Marcos regime collapsed in 1986, and Imelda and her husband Ferdinand were exiled in Hawaii, they carried with them allegations of embezzlement, corruption, and human rights abuses. Imelda had spent the last 20 years living off a seemingly endless supply of funds, living an exotic and glamorous lifestyle and rubbing shoulders with powerful figures worldwide. In 1972, when the superstar couple's popularity was fading and they were at risk of losing their power, Ferdinand Marcos instated martial, leading to an era of chaos and plunder, in what's described by some as the second most corrupt regime of the 20th century. Ferdinand and Imelda fled in the 1986 to escape the People's Power Revolution, Imelda leaving behind some 2,000 pairs of shoes. And now, the story of Imelda Marcos can be seen in the format of a musical, an artistic genre which is quite befitting for this flamboyant, entertaining figure of beauty and glamour. Imelda, a new musical, has played in Los Angeles and New York. The artistic director of the musical, Tim Dang, realized that the musical glosses over the dark aspects of the Marcos regime, but wanted to portray Imelda as a person with all her faults on display, leaving the audience to come to a verdict. However, despite the glitz of the show, reviews were mixed, stating that the serial-comic spoof had a vacuum at its center. After her husband died in Hawaii due to ill health, Imelda stood trial in the United States on behalf of her husband. Following that, she returned to the Philippines to face 70 more counts of corruption and tax evasion. She has now returned to Congress in the Philippines, her makeup and gowns as flawless as ever. So, what makes Imelda Marcos such an appealing muse? Undoubtedly, Imelda Marcos' resolute character, which has withstood exile, legal battles, and the wrath of her enemies, makes her an appealing heroine. But filmmaker friend Tom Bailey attributes her iconicity to her sense of glamour and style, and her role as a cultural trendsetter. And like so many women who let nothing come between them and their goals, she's gained a certain iconic status, particularly among homosexuals, not unlike that of Judy Garland and Lady Gaga. The story of Imelda Marcos has also been immortalized as a song cycle, Here Lies Love, written by David Byrne and Norman Cook, in which Imelda comes across as both a hero and villain. Their reasoning was to try to understand the story of how people can attain positions of such power and greed. They were also inspired by Imelda's love of dancing and clubbing and how her own style of music could be incorporated into their own. Byrne adds that their story is not black and white. The couple were very popular at first, and Imelda headed a lot of public works in the Philippines and added much to the nation's sense of culture and identity. At the cultural center of the Philippines, a tour named La Vida Imelda, led by Carlos Cedran, describes the life of Imelda Marcos, the Cold War and martial law, while also portraying the glamour of the Imelda lifestyle. He describes it as an eternal story in which her extravagance can be seen as either distasteful or in some ways estimable. There is a danger that these new art forms airbrush out the atrocities which accompanied this temptation glamour. It was a time when democracy was suppressed, political enemies disappeared, and billions of dollars which could have helped the poverty-stricken country were spent on the Marcos' extravagant lifestyle. However, The artists involved are keen to make clear that the regime also resulted in great leaps forward in the country's culture, architecture, and infrastructure. The Marcos legacy remains in the form of hospitals, heart and lung centers, folk art theatres, and home for children and the elderly, notwithstanding that the Marcos couple said there were ravaged, poverty-stricken land onto the world stage. So, that was the article. I really hope you have learned this new vocabulary and that you can apply in your life. Just to remind you, it's almost impossible to learn words in a random way without a real context. That's why this article was so important, okay? It's imperial that you learn each word and you apply into real life. And I always have to say thanks to Cambridge's website, OSDI, which belongs to Oxford, and Linguist's website, because I every day learn something new, And I hope to see you next classes. So thank you so much for tonight. Cheers. Have a great night. Bye bye.